All right, looks like we're live. And today's show has been anticipated by a lot of people. I had no idea. A lot of people really wanted to learn about investing as much as I do. So I figured we'll make it a show. And the only person I knew I could bring on this show is Dr. Sarah Jane Thomas. Now, when you leave money in your savings account, two things that we know really happen, right? Your money will decrease if you make a withdrawal, and it will increase at a very, very slow rate because the interest rates are often lower with the rate of inflation. So this means your savings could actually lose purchasing power over time, right? So that's why we don't want to leave money in a savings account. Investing, however, has the potential to make us more money way faster, only if you know how to do it wisely. So to help us better understand investing 101 is my good friend and fellow HU alum, Dr. Sarah Jane Thomas. This woman, I tell you, has accomplished a lot. I was going to read her whole resume tonight, but I'm not going to do that because we're going to be here all day. But trust me, she's very knowledgeable in this subject. And the little bit that I know about stocks, I learned from Sarah. So please help me welcome Sarah to the show. Welcome, Sarah, to the show.
Thank you so much, Obi. I'm so honored to be here, and it's a pleasure to see you and to connect with your audience. So thank you so much for having me.
And thank you everybody for tuning in. If the show is interactive, if you're watching this on my personal page, if you type in a comment, I won't see it. If you're watching it on YouTube, you type in a comment, I won't see it after the show. But if you want to be more interactive and ask Sarah questions tonight, please watch from the News with Obi show on Facebook. And my name is Obi, and this is the News with Obi, where we talk about all things politics, current affairs happening in our local community and around the world. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out tonight to join us. I see Johnny has joined us. Thank you, Johnny, for joining us. Good evening. Thank you. So, Sarah, let's dive right into it, right? We have a lot to talk about tonight, and a lot of people want to learn about this. I know some people want to watch this later on, and I'm excited that we can have this posted and on the podcast later on tomorrow or Sunday. So back in the day, right? Anything stock market was like really out there. It was esoteric. I know I really didn't understand it. But in today's world, everyone is making money investing online. How important is it that we read up about a company before we invest in that company?
Oh my goodness, it is so important. You really want to know where your money's going into. You want to make sure it's a company that you can stand behind. That you believe in their business practices, and also that they are a good company. So there's something, if you see like the stock groups, then a lot of times they talk about DD, which is due diligence. So doing your due diligence on a company, looking up, their past history, looking up some information about them. Me personally, I have several different accounts, but one of them, the one that I'm doing the best in is my long-term buy and hold account. So that would be one where, you put in the money, you just let it sit and accumulate. So for those, I'm very, very picky about the companies that I choose to put money in. They're companies I've been watching for a very long time. A lot of times in Facebook groups or on Discord or Reddit or whatever, then people will say, oh, put your money behind such and such stock. It's going to take off. Maybe, but probably not. So, one great piece of advice that I got from a few of my investing mentors was to invest in what you buy. So, for example, I am an iPhone person, so I might buy stock in Apple. I want to buy a Tesla car. I might buy stock in Tesla. So that way you automatically kind of know what's going on with the companies, and you don't have to do a whole lot to inform yourself. But it's always good to put in that time to do the research on the companies.
Now, there are a few apps out there, such as Robinhood, Webull, and a lot of them, right? So, are there any tips, or are there any favorite apps that you personally like? And is there ones that are better than the other? I know I use Robinhood. It seems fairly easy to use. I haven't dabbled into any of the other ones yet. So, are
Yeah,
there
that's a
ones?
good question. It's all about Yeah, and it's all about your trading style, what you want to do with it. If you want to like go long term and buy and hold stocks and shares, then you could do that on almost any platform. The one that I personally use for that is Stash, because I also have a style where I'll like make a lot of quick trades, and if I put all of my stocks in there, then I'll be tempted to touch those stocks. But I know that when I have it separated, the ones in my Stash account, they're going to sit there, they're going to grow, they're going to accumulate, and I know that I'm not going to make any quick trades on them. Robinhood is one that I also use quite a bit. And there's a few others out there. There's TD Ameritrade or Thinkorswim, and that is more advanced, but it's very, very useful when you get to trading and making those quick buys and sells, several per day or minute. Then that one's great for that. There's also Webull that people are really starting to like. That one's a little newer. There's E-Trade, Charles Schwab. The list goes on and on and on. So there are several different ones out there.
So you've mentioned twice, since we started talking, that your long term. You said long term quite a few times already. So can you how do you decide how do you decide which stocks are going to be long term, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, the long-term account, that's the one that I'm doing the best in. That's the one where, I have been researching these stocks and just kind of figuring, okay, this one's making moves. So I like this one. Let me just, continue with the trajectory on that. So the ones that are in that category, they're stocks that I tend to use the products on a regular basis. Okay. Stocks such as Apple, Tesla, Pinterest, Twitter, things like that have been really, that I already kind of know what's going on. I have some friends that like to do the airline stocks, because one good tip is to look for industries that have been disrupted, but they're going to come back. I know that my personal greatest gain has been off of Tesla, and I bought that when it hit its low back in March of 2019 of 500 per share, and I got one there, and it has gone up 4,000%.
Wow.
Since that time. So that has been like the single greatest investment that I've probably ever made. So, and not all stocks will do this. But you'll tend to see a rate of return that's definitely higher than an average savings account. But also from what I've heard, then they tend to outperform, the IRAs not the IRAs. My apologies, but the 403Bs of 401Ks. So if you find like a good company that has, growth and potentially dividends, sometimes they pay you to hold the stock, then you can do really well in investing long term in the market.
So this actually kind of segues to what I was going to ask next. So your long-term stocks are like the stocks that you say you personally use their products, and these are the stocks that you don't trade, even if you see a dip in what's going on with that stock in the market. Does that sound right?
That is correct. Yes, absolutely. Like a dip, what I've learned, and this is, I'm not a So this is anecdotal, just kind of my experiences. But from what I'm learning, the dips when you're going long is not something to be afraid of. The dips are actually an opportunity to buy more. Like if it's a good quality company that's been around, has a good reputation, and like let's say that the market comes crashing down like it did at the beginning of the pandemic, then what I've learned, that's the time to go in and buy. I think it was Warren Buffett. People always quote this. So if I get this wrong, this is like a secondhand quote, but they say, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy. So when the market dips, then that's the time to go in. And then when that market comes up, then, at that point you make a killing off of that.
So be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So, is there like, when is a good time to know when to sell your stocks, I should say?
So that all depends on your trading style. That all depends also on your strategy. So there's a lot of variables when it comes to play. So each investor is going to be different when it's time to sell. Me personally, and I'll speak from the perspective of a long-term account. For those, I plan to hold on to them as long as I possibly can. I might sell if if there's something that comes along that I think will be a long-term dip, longer than I'm willing to wait for it to recover. So I'm talking about something that's going to take the company like 5-10 years to come back from, or more than a year, in my opinion, to come back from. Then at that point, I might start selling at the sign of trouble. But if I were to switch gears and think of trading, then I tend to sell on the opposite side when things are going very well, like when the stocks are towards their high and you start seeing them start to come down, then that's when I sell in the short term so that I can free up some capital, maybe reposition myself and buy some more.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's interesting because like I said, the little bit I know about stocks, I know I've asked you quite some questions, and sometimes I get stuck. I'm like, okay, what do I do with this now? It's going down. Do I leave it alone, or do I, so that's good to know. You don't leave it in there till it completely depletes itself, is what you're saying.
Right, because if you are investing in a good company, like a reputable company, then it's going to be unlikely that that it'll completely lose its value. Like it might lose its value in the short term, but it will very likely come back up. So what you want to watch out for are these stocks that people are screaming about on Reddit, or or on whatchamacallit, on Reddit, on Discord, depending on the group. Some groups are better than others, but a lot of times they might be screaming about stocks like GameStop, and we see what happened with that. That went up, everybody bought in the hype, and it went up to over $400, and then bloop, now it's down to like 50. So something like that, then that would not be a stock that I would want to go long term on. Not at those prices. I would not enter at like 400. That might be something I would trade, and then at the first sign of trouble, then I'm out the door. But that takes practice. That's not something. That's taken a few years, and still I don't trust myself on that one.
Yeah. Wow. So how long did it take you to really familiarize yourself with the stock market and investing and all that?
Yeah, so with the long-term account, then that was pretty intuitive. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it, but I would say like within a few days playing around with it, and you kind of learn the mechanics behind the app. The concept is pretty simple, in terms of buying and selling. When you start getting really technical and trying to time the market and figure out when the top is, when the bottom is of the stock, that takes years and years and years. I'm not even there. Like I'll be 100% honest. I took out a loan to trade, and I ended up losing a significant amount of money. So painful
Wow.
lesson, but it was a much needed lesson. So and
Mm.
that brings me to another point, you know, definitely just invest an amount that you're willing to
To
lose,
lose.
because
Right.
really anything can happen. Yeah, yeah. So I hear stories about people who went all in on this GameStop thing and they lost, like, you know, everything, and that just kills me. You know, really it's got to be about money that you can afford to, you know, afford to lose if worse comes to worse. And I mean, the good thing is that now they make it so accessible, you can start investing with the dollar. Cash
Mm.
App, you know,
Yeah.
there's stocks on Cash App and things like that. So they make it really, really accessible right now.
Yeah. That's great. So what is the difference between investing versus trading? There is a difference to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned this from a mentor of mine that I found in a Facebook group. Two mentors actually. Joel Rodney Harrison. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to Joel. And also
Yeah,
Noble Woods,
you
whose
added me
birthday will
to that
be in
group.
2 days. So happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took one of their courses, one of their options courses, and I learned the difference. So investing is when you buy with the intention to hold on to it for a year or more. But trading is when you're planning to hold on to it for less than a year. And there's different kinds of trading. There's day trading, which, you know, people might be familiar with that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, where they're
Right.
like trading, you know, and that's the kind that you see a lot of times in the movies. There's also something that's more common called swing trading, which is the bulk of what I do. And swing trading is when you buy a stock, you hold on to it for maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a month, and then, you know, you get rid of it. So yes, there's different kinds to it.
In the gambling world, isn't that called gambling?
It depends. It depends. There's skill, but well, I mean, I guess there's skill behind gambling too. Like if you think about it, but in trading though, there's definitely a skill set that makes it like less random, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. If you guys have any questions for Sarah, please type them in. Again, if you're watching on YouTube or on my personal page on Facebook, if you type in any question, I won't be able to see it till after the show. To ask her a question, you have to join us on the News with Obi Facebook page to be able to be interactive with Sarah. So, Sarah, advisors do say that when it comes to stock, you have to constantly stay on top of what's going on by reading and following like you're doing before you invest long term. Are there any reading suggestions on how we can really stay on top of all these stocks and which ones to invest in?
Yeah, definitely. There are many books that kind of lay the foundation. There's a couple of books that I read that really kind of changed my perspective on money and made it a little easier to trade. Like I don't agree with 100% of what the books say, but they were still useful to me on my journey. One of them was Think and Grow Rich. So that's definitely a book to check out. And when I was reading it, I was just like, man, this is a mess. This, you know, why am I reading this? But then come to find out, like a couple years later, then it had really been the first step to rethinking the way that I think about money. And then there's another one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by
Right.
Robert Kiyosaki. And so that one I read, there was some useful information. There was part of it that, you know, I disagreed with part of it, but I felt that it was still a very useful read. So there's those books. There's a book by John Carter that talks about trading. You know, there's quite a few different books out there that are great. But also what I really like is there's Facebook groups like Insider Trading is a great one that I'm part of. Let me see. There's Discord communities. So you know, Discord is an app that's, you know, people have kind of come together and they call out different plays. I see people calling out plays on Telegram. So there's so many different resources out there. And really when you get into one, then it'll lead you down a rabbit hole into several others. So yeah,
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Actually, it looks like I can actually see comments from YouTube. Olga Harry, I see you. You say awesomeness. Okay, and you're commenting from the YouTube page. So thank you for watching. So Sarah, I know a lot of people say you shouldn't take stock advice from people on Facebook, right?
Mhm.
But if you are in a Facebook group that has people that are knowledgeable about stock, that's okay, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it depends because like when you're in there, then, you know, if you just kind of tune in and see who kind of resonates with you, like who might have a similar strategy, because the thing about it is that people are in there for different reasons. People are in there with different levels of experience. People are in there, you know, with different strategies. So a lot of times people will call out a stock and it may or may not fit what you're trying to do. If you have like a particular strategy that you're going with. So when you're in there, just kind of observing and seeing who might be talking about stocks that you have on your own watch list. You know, I would advise building up a watch list. Is something I learned from Joel and Noble. So building up a watch list of different brands that you use and just, you know, watching those tickers. And then when people post about them, then just kind of looking and seeing how that stock is doing for the day. And when you find people who really fit that wavelength and you're kind of in sync with one another, then those are the people that I tend to trust and gravitate towards. But there's a lot of noise and a lot of chatter. So that's one thing to definitely be aware of.
Right. And Amazon, I think I get a package from Amazon just about every week.
Yes.
But I can't afford their stock. Is there? I mean, what can we do to really? We just got to wait till they break even. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, they have done some stock splits, and there's like a rumor that Amazon might be doing one. But one thing that I really like is that some brokerages will let you do fractional shares. So Stash will let you do like a fractional share. I think I started out with like $5 on Amazon. Cash App will let you do it.
I think Robinhood lets you do that too.
Which one?
Robinhood?
Yes, they do. Robinhood does. Charles Schwab. So there's quite a few that'll let you get in on the action. You don't have to pay that $3,300 per share. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a great idea. So we've been talking to Dr. Sarah Jane Thomas about the stock market, how to invest, when to leave the money alone, like the long-term investing, and when to know how to, trade. So if you have any questions, type them in. I do have her information scrolling at the bottom. You can use that to follow her on all social media and also check her out on her website. Like I said, this woman has accomplished a lot. If I begin to read her resume, we're going to be here all evening. But I want to really switch a little bit and talk about Sarah a little bit about and what she does. She has an organization called EduMatch. And if I'm not correct, so EduMatch is a board of teachers, right, Sarah, that come together, and you guys have like a project that promotes connection and collaboration among educators around the world. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. We learn and grow together to try to be better for our students and try to level each other up. So it's a very organic movement. We have like a few different branches to it. One is a nonprofit. We also have like a publishing branch. We have some courses that we do, and we have a bunch of really ambitious projects on the horizon. So so that's going to be fun.
What prompted you to really start this organization? I know it's been how many years now since you started it? 5 or more?
Yes, 7. It's about to be 7. This is crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is nuts. I just thought about that. I was like, we're in 2021 now. That's insane. But yeah. And it started really grassroots, I was talking with a friend on social media, and she reminded me of a conversation I had with my cousin who used to be a teacher. So I said, y'all should connect, see what you come up with. And at that point, I decided to start trying to connect people through social media. And then people brought ideas like, why don't we do a group on Voxer? Why don't we do a podcast? Why don't we do a Twitter chat? Why don't we write books? And et cetera, and et cetera. And that's kind of how we've grown so far. So it's really been a cool journey.
And how have you guys been able to navigate with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff? How has that been?
It's been rough to be honest. It has been pretty rough. But the thing is that we're all here and have just kind of banded, I would say, even closer together. But I would say the pandemic has really thrown all of us for a loop. When it comes to remote learning and also navigating this collective global trauma. It really takes a toll. And as a result, a lot of us are juggling a lot more things, as we're trying to adapt. And so that does kind of slow things down a bit. But I mean, at the same time, we're a family, we're all here for one another. So, it's been beautiful to see people kind of lean on one another and embrace one another, especially in times when we've really needed it. So,
yeah. I joined. I believe you added me to the group. I'm like, I'm not an educator, but I want to be here to learn from educators. So my mom is a retired teacher, so I've been around educators. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for all you do and actually creating the platform for educators to come together and know that they have each other, because it could be a lonely trip out there.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you. And we appreciate you being part of our family. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time out to be on the show. Hopefully, I know I learned a lot this evening. I'm going to go check out my Robinhood after this to see what I'm not doing right. But
you and me both.
But thank you for taking the time out. I hope this information helps someone out there. This is going to be posted on Facebook. My 2 Facebook pages is going to be posted on YouTube by Sunday. I'm going to get it up on podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and also you can ask Alexa to pull up the News with Obi and it plays. So thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and ask the questions. And thank you, Sarah. I know it's a Friday. I know it's been a long week. You can't wait to end the week. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to chat with you and to catch up. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.